So I am going to try to manage these two. I have two computers going, so to make sure that nothing happens, because I'm at home also, and with the cable, and it is difficult. So I'm going to start. Dr. Bob Elser is going to help with moving the PowerPoint for me so that we can just get through some options and some ideas. And I'm hoping that at the end we can have some discussion. I think this is a very important decision for the club, and that everyone should be involved with that. And so it needs to have some conversation in us to make a good decision. We'll start the PowerPoint now. The Rotary Club of York East Charitable Foundation. Well, I think up until a few weeks ago, many people in the club did not know we even had a York East Rotary Charitable Foundation. It was established in 2002 at my request, because at that time, the Rotary Foundation grant parameters had certain bylines, by rules that they wanted us to follow. And one of them was that York East could not keep or own any equipment that was purchased through a grant. So Rotary suggested that it was not a good idea to continue to buy the equipment and have to raise money every year to do that. So they suggested that we put it in a foundation and we go for a few years with it there. And when the time was appropriate, they could release it back to the team. The purpose is now different than when we started. And so do we really still need that York East Rotary Charitable Foundation? Well, I think we always have to be innovative and use whatever tools we have to do the best we can for our club and for our community and for the world. So that's going to be one option that we're going to discuss here. The initial purpose, of course, has changed, but now we can repurpose that foundation and use it to benefit York East projects both locally and internationally, as well as to supplement our scholarships, make them a little bigger, more important, or more of them, and Rotary Club partnerships, as we're always being asked to partner with other clubs who need financial support to finish their projects. It may also be used to buy other things that are not expenses allowed in our grants or that we go over budget. It is a nice cushion and a nice support that we can borrow from it or use whatever we need, and we can hopefully put it back. So that's an option. All these projects that we would be doing that would actually be from our club through the support of this foundation. And so then all media coverage of projects would be done in the name of York East Rotary Club. For example, when we were discussing this with many people as we were preparing this presentation, someone came up with a great idea that maybe we should take the $28,000 that we have in our Sunshine Fund, and the club may decide as an option to give $9,000 per year for the next 3 years to supporting and doing bigger, better, more interesting or more projects that could help our community in a bigger fashion and make a project that we could participate in also. Because one of the things with Zoom and our last few years of participation is that when people participate, they become better Rotarians. I think I'm an example of that. You learn, you participate, and you want to learn more and you want to do more. So if we took $9,000 a year and said that we're going to use that for the next 3 years, anyone who supported that, the contributions would be tax deductible, and you could designate where that money went. So say, for the example, we're going to go on to the next slide a minute, but we decided that we wanted to fund the food pantry and that they now need an additional refrigerator. So we give them a refrigerator, but we don't have enough money to then fulfill our promises to help with filling those refrigerators. So some of our members who are partial to that project could come on and say, okay, I'd like to give $100 towards food. And they could write a check to the York East Rotary Charitable Fund. And it could be dedicated to what they want to give their donations to. And I think to some people that's very important. Some things are more important to them than others. And we have a very diverse group in our club in many areas. And that would be a nice thing for people to be able to designate their funds. So that's just one kind of idea we came up with that I'm sure if we explore the York East Charitable Foundation, we can find many ways that we could use them if we want to keep that option. After we did not need to keep our equipment in the foundation, it was used for about 1.5 years for the County Cup. And again, money was going in and out. So this foundation that we have as our charitable foundation has really never had a lot of money in it. It would have 50,000 or 80,000 or whatever my grants were at that point to come into it, but it would be going right back out because the check would come from the Rotary Foundation. We'd put it in, we disperse it to our needs for the mission or whatever we were funding at that time, and it would go back out. And I think that was similar to the County Cup money that would go in and out. So it's never really held a good amount of money or had to manage a good amount of money over a period of time. So that's something that we'd have to consider. Okay. Recently, there was a committee formed, and some of their proposal to use that $28,000 was to give it directly to the York Community Foundation. This would be a permanent transfer of funds to the YCCF, and so therefore we'd lose control of that money. The YCFF would manage the portfolio, and we'd also lose that opportunity to manage and maybe change or adapt in the next few years to something that we started with that money. The minimum starting value was $25,000, which would wipe out most of the money that we do have set aside in that Sunshine Fund, because we would leave just a few thousand to go forward. Annual distribution based on the York County Foundation, name it that way as we go forward. The spending policies are given to a York County nonprofit that supports the mission that we have donated this money to for the fund. But the proceeds can't be given then to the Rotary Foundation grant program, which offers us another way to very much double, triple our money in a greater way. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. The York County Community Foundation continues to manage our foundation's funds in perpetuity to ensure a long-lasting gift in honor of our Rotarians. However, the York East Rotary Foundation could invest in that also. We have a lot of very good bankers and investment people in our own club. $28,000 is a drop in the bucket to many of them and would be easily to oversee in our York East Rotary Foundation. And then we would have complete control of how the proceeds are going to be spent. Bob, please go on. Another opportunity. We could leave the funds alone and let them gain interest in an interest-bearing checking or savings. But as we know, all of us at this point, that's not really accumulating a lot of additional revenue. But there they would be able to be used for various grants or to supplement travel for sending Rotarians on projects or internationally on a mission, for example, or if something came up that there was a great need in the, that our club felt we should fund, we wouldn't have that money available. So it would limit us on our options there. Or we can invest some ourselves in low risk and diversified funds, again, using our own Rotarians who would oversee and advise the club. And I think that it's a good idea that we all participate in this, and that it doesn't seem like it's any one person's project. And we diversify the funds over many different areas of Rotary and what we want to participate in. We could spend those funds to do good in the community. We could specifically do so by just having a huge project and using the 28,000 locally in our community, redoing a park or something that our members could be visible and participating in, and could partner with the other Rotary clubs in the area who would have a small amount of funds that they could donate and participate. It would be a great media event for Rotary and get our names back out there after the pandemic, letting people know we are here active and still participating to help our community. So that's another opportunity. And we could give the funds to the York County Community Foundation and let them determine the best investing of the funds. But we've lost the use of principle and we've lost the club recognition. We need to do things in our own name so that, and put that Rotary symbol up there so we don't age out in our own club, because many clubs are aging out without participation. Also, the YCC charges an administrative fee, and actually it's, I think, 2. And again, I'm not an authority on that, so I'm just going by the information I have, that there's an administration fee from them. There's also an administration fee from the investment company that's investing the funds for them. So therefore, that would take and reduce the money we gave them every year, because if we're not making a good amount of interest in that fund, those fees would continue to diminish the funds that we gave them, and we wouldn't be making any interest or anything on it because it would slowly depreciate. Now, the first 2 options are pretty obvious. I think I've explained just some ideas of how we could use them or not use them, and some of the good and some of the not so good points of making those options. And you can determine for yourself what the outcome would be in either direction of those. So let's go on and look at another option. Okay. But first, I want to go back to the YCCF because later there is a few things I would like to say there. We abdicate our responsibility to leverage these funds through the district and through international organizations matching funds of our money, which is very beneficial to our club and to our projects. We lose the majority of the value of the funds, gaining only the interest to use in an ongoing matter, which greatly diminishes our generosity to the community. If we can only use the interest off of that fund, which is a small amount, we're not going to be doing amazing projects in the community. Perhaps in many decades, this could benefit our club and our community, but that's only conjecture. We don't know how that will go in the years to come. And as we all know, a bird in hand, especially in a pandemic, is worth 2 in the bush. Okay, Bob, if we can go to the next point. All right, Rotary offers us the opportunity to use Rotary dollars and to magnify our York East money immensely, okay? By giving to the YCCF, it removes the flexibility we currently have to do so. We've lost any chance to have a larger impact through Rotary matching funds. Our club can give 100% of these funds to the YCCF and gain something like 1 to 4%, or whatever our money gains in interest and dividends worth of good in the world each year. We can use that money to gain 280% of those funds to do good in the world if we choose the option to use the Rotary Foundation matching programs. Remember, this encourages our membership to continue giving when they see what we do with those funds and how their funds grow and how they come back to the club and benefit us and the community and the world, depending on the projects that we're using with that money. We should always strive to leverage our dollars to maximize the impact. It's nice to have a community idea, but we also have to think that we are Rotarians first. We joined Rotary because we believed in the ideals of Rotary, because we believed in the work that it's done. It's the #1 foundation in the world. And they've been working since 2017 to fine tune this program so that they can help and support us. They are the support system to the clubs all over the world, and they want us to do well. And so they've set up the system to help us do good in the world with our money, whether we're here or we're in Kenya. Okay, we should always strive to leverage these dollars to maximize its impact. Bob, the next slide. In a global grant, and I apologize, I think we haven't done a good enough job in our own club to make everyone aware of the good that this club has done through grants over the last 25 medical missions, okay, as well as the district grants, which are funded by this program too. When we do our local district grant every year, we give $2,500. The district matches that with $2,500. So we double our money in the small project that we fund through the district, okay? In a global grant, every dollar put into the budget is matched by the district. And every dollar put into the grant by the district is matched by the Rotary Foundation with an additional 80 cents. So very simply, easy to understand, if we put 10,000 into a grant, the district matches that with $10,000, and the Rotary Foundation matches that with 8,000 more. So now our 10,000 becomes 28,000. And that's how we've been able to, when the Yorkies gives 7 or 8 or 10,000 to a project, to do a $150,000 project, because we have partners all over the world who are joining in the work that Yorkies is doing. And then the districts all over the world are matching us. And then the Rotary Foundation is matching all of the districts. So we can turn small amounts of money from our clubs all over the world, from here, from Brazil, from Denmark, the participants that participate in our projects, and we can turn them into a vast amount of money and do a great good in the world, either locally or internationally. We can do that kind of project locally. I did do it in Harrisburg several years ago. The only reverse grant that this district has ever done, I used my international partners to fund the project with us, and they were actually wrote the grant with us as the recipient. So Harrisburg, every single school in the Harrisburg area brought children who could not afford glasses. And we did that project, and it was because of our international ties and the combination of money put together. But we can do a huge project in our community with a global grant. Global grants do not have to be done in third world countries. We do have the expertise in our club to do whatever you want to do in the world. And I think we need to do a better job of letting you see how we did that. Our last project to Malawi was the #1 lead story in the Zone newsletter this month, which started our new Rotary year. And that newsletter goes up to leaders all across Canada and all down the East Coast and Bermuda. So it was a very well received project. And I think we need to congratulate the Yorkies for supporting us, to the individuals who supported us with additional money. And that project happened because of you. We go and we do the work because we love it and because we want to participate, but we couldn't go if the club does not sponsor it. No grant can be done without two clubs working together, at least two clubs, to do a grant. So thank you, York East. You did an amazing job. I wish you would look at that newsletter and be proud of what we did in the York East Nate. So if we put that $10,000 into a grant, the district matches that with the 10,000 and the Rotary Foundation matches that with the 8. You know, our 10,000 again, I want to repeat, becomes 28,000 per grant, but per year. We're not waiting on a small amount of interest and taking 10 years to have enough money to do a project. We can ask the district and the Rotary Foundation to support us every single year. If we put up our 10, we can turn it into 28. When we partner with other clubs and districts around the world, we use the same amount of money feedback from those clubs, which is combines with our 28,000. If 2 or 3 other districts that partner come up with 23 to 28 or $30,000, then we're doing $100,000 of work. And we can either do an amazing local project, or we can help 2,000 people in a country where they would never, ever get that support. We were one of only 4 vocational training teams last year through Rotary International. And so we taught at the Malawi school, if you weren't aware, at the medical school. So we taught the professionals with our team members from all over the world. And it was a very great success. And again, I can't thank you enough for supporting us. You don't all get to come and see the results of that, but if you did, you'd be very proud. So how long would it take the York County Community Foundation to accrue that amount of money? Or is it even possible in our lifetime? Okay, something we can do every year. Is it possible to even accrue that kind of money by relinquishing the money to someone else and not using it to our best availability, when Rotary is standing there offering a hand to help us do amazing work? And this is what brings in new members and gives us something to talk about when someone asks us why we are a Rotarian or why should they join York East, because we do good work in the world, we do good work in our community, and they would be proud to be part of our club. So if you go on to the next slide, please, Bob. There's a couple misunderstandings that I would like to correct. It's been said that Rotary is not having financial difficulties. And to reinforce this point, we've been asked to reference the Rotarian magazine. But you have to remember, our club has been featured in the Rotarian magazine many times. This journal is intended to point out the good work and the goodness of Rotary and not to air our dirty laundry. Okay, the reality is that the matching money in a global grant was 350% this past year. Okay, not the 280% that will be this year's allotment. Why would Rotary, the Rotary Foundation, reduce the matching funds if we were in such great financial shape? They wouldn't, because they want to do good in the world too. Next slide, Bob. So Rotary giving. If we are presented with the option of giving to the Rotary Foundation, which gives us our reward in exchange, our Paul Harris Fellow that we work towards, our major donors that we work towards, our Arch Clump Society that we work towards, or we have an option of giving to the Rotary Club of York East Charitable Foundation and actually managing it over a period of years. And again, multiplying that money over and over through projects using the already well-established Rotary Foundation programs. that we already have available to us. Right now, our grant is being overseen and checked. Every line item, every receipt, every budget. They are so thorough in making sure your money is used for the way it's supposed to be used. And they audit us and are responsible to make sure that they can tell the club that their money was well spent and we did what we said on that grant we were going to do. Some people may choose to do both, and every dollar is worth $1. Giving to the York County Community Foundation nets our club just something like right now with the current amount of interest that people are getting on accounts, somewhere between 1% and 4% per year, plus, but not plus, minus administrative fees. So our money will continue actually to depreciate unless there's a huge turn in interest. All right, next slide, please. When we give to the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation, our foundation, we joined the Rotary, and the foundation is our financial support to continue the good work in our club for our community and our world. So they're supporting us. So we each get credit for that money we give towards our Paul Harris Fellow and or any of the major donor and up designations that you can get by your donations. Rotary holds on to that money for 3 years and they live off the interest, paying for the people that help us in Chicago, operations, expenditures, leadership training, club trainings, supporting our districts, supporting our clubs. Realistically though, they are not getting a huge return on their money either at this time. And so they need to tighten their belt. Hence the temporary reduction in the matching dollars just described. In my new position, I do work with the trustee board. And as I said, Rotary will always be strong. But since we work off the interest also of our permanent fund, they foresee what is coming for the next 10 years and they are planning and adjusting as we go. When the money is released after those 3 years, it comes back to us. 50% is returned to the district. And that's the money that the district matches our club money with. And then that Rotary International, again, matches to the district. So the 50% that they're holding, they're going to give it back to us also if we're going to use it. If we're not going to use it, the district doesn't request it, then that money is used for someone who is requesting it and needs it. Not every club is requesting foundation support every single year. So they have an amazing way of managing this. I'm going to go on to the last slide here. I am going to refer you also back to the Rotarian magazine, but to the May issue. Past International President K.R. Ravindran is now the foundation chair, okay? And it was interesting that he wrote a foundation article, but instead of, as many people feel, they're turned off by all the figures and trying to figure out how the system works, he started his article talking about Lawrence of Arabia. And that certainly got my attention. It was very interesting. He went on to say how Lawrence of Arabia had inspired him through him watching that movie several times, because when he came up against adversity, he didn't give in. When people told him it couldn't be done, that he couldn't save his men or he couldn't win a war, he told them history is not written yet. So I'm going to end with a quote from this past president of Rotary International. His last paragraph went like this: Rotary is engaged in so many noble efforts. It is an ongoing story that inspires me even more than Lawrence of Arabia. We do not yet know the name of the baby whose life will be saved because of a maternal and child health grant from Rotary, or the name of the girl who will learn to read with our support. When will these grants start? And will your district or you be directly involved? Nothing is written. We write it. So thank you very much for allowing me to share this information with you. And I'd like to open it up to questions and hopefully some information that people can share with the club in their experiences. So I'm going to turn it back over, if Bob, if you would allow them, if they raise their hand to say what they would like to say or ask any question, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Connie, this is Diane Yoakum.
Yes.
I have a question. I think I just need to understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're looking at entirely different concepts. The thought of putting it in the community foundation was to keep York East in perpetuity. The concept of giving it to Rotary International is to spend it over 3 years. And am I right?
No. Okay, there's options to use that money. And how are we best going to get our bigger bang for the buck? Okay, how are we going to help our club? Giving it away to someone else, they get the credit for the projects. We don't get to use this matching fund, which can multiply our money over and over again. And we can do projects every single year. Okay, if we give that away, we have to start over again, raising money every single year. We have now something that is a base that we can use to go forward and continue raising, and either putting it into our club account and using it every year, in addition to using the money that we have built up that is not doing anything for our club or for the community at this point. But I think we also have to think of the beneficial aspects of our club doing it, our membership participating, people getting involved, getting excited about what we're doing, talking about it, bringing in new members, and then making a big impact on our community by doing a great big project. And in Rotary's name, putting Rotary's seal on that, York East, when they participated with Habitat for Humanity, we gave money. Habitat for Humanity got all the publicity. When we partner with another organization, if we give more than 50% of a project, it is supposed to be our project and in our name. So again, if you're using this money, there's options of how to use it. And some people would like to give it to the York County community for perpetuity, for forever, okay? But nobody's going to know that. They're going to not know 2 years from now York East gave it, except the people at the Community Foundation who are going to oversee it. The community is not going to know that we gave that money. And even if they make an announcement once, we're then history. We're part of that history, instead of creating our own history every year and building our clubs. When I was president, this club was 100 members, and we were busy and into everything and participating. And that generated energy and a lot of enthusiasm in our members, and they stayed. So now we are down to 60 people, and it would be great to rebuild it. Some of the bigger clubs have foundations, but they started them. They're usually the top 3 clubs in the district who have anywhere from 200 to 350 members, okay? And they started their foundations in 1948 or 1965, and they have a basis. We don't have a basis. We haven't collected a basis to support ourselves through difficulty and fundraising, or not being able to fundraise. And so we could go years, if we gave that money away to the York Community Foundation, we could go years before we have enough money to even put into a grant to have that money matched. Okay, if we're going to use the matching grant process with York East Rotary International, with the foundation, then we have to have something to put into the grant for them to match. So if we're scrounging like we did for the mission to Malawi to come up with $7,000 by doing poinsettias, it was amazing that we could turn that money into 3 projects that were $150,000 in Malawi and serve 2,000 people. So we have to have some place to keep that money to do it. If we give it away, then we don't have a choice. We have nothing to do. We can't use that money for our own growth as a club or to do a huge project.
But when the mission happened to Malawi, I don't recall seeing the recognition for the York East Club regarding that outcome.
If you go on to that newsletter that went across Beyond Borders to thousands and thousands of leaders, okay, we gave all the credit to York East. It was funded and started by York East. So even though other countries put money into it, York East wrote the grant. We wrote the grant, so we got credit for that. And I agree, we did not give you enough information to understand. I wanted Bob to send out that newsletter to all of you so you could see you got the recognition. And you got the recognition in the district. All the district people know what we do, okay? But we want the community to know what we do, all right? So we are going to take that article and put it in the newspaper and show that what we did do in Malawi, because it is totally not finished yet until we get our final approval to close the grant, which we're in the process, which will happen within the next couple of days. So we will put that in the newspaper and we will do an article. And I used to do that all the time with putting it in the newspaper and getting publicity for the club. And again, maybe we haven't been doing as good of a job to do that. I was essential during pandemic. There's a lot of things that we couldn't do. We were working night and day.
Well, excuse me, Connie. In the interest of time, which we seem to be running out of very quickly, I see Betsy has her hand up with a question. Betsy, go ahead. You're muted, Betsy.
All right, so it's not a question, but I think we're talking about some different things. So the intent of the committee on which I served, looking into this, does not preclude, if we invest a portion of money, it might be all of it, it might be $15,000. We would invite other people to help us build a fund at the Community Foundation. It does not preclude any of our Rotary International giving, which we give individually, or I don't know how many, I give the balance every year, and I think many of us, probably all of us that on this meeting do. It doesn't preclude our involvement with that. It doesn't preclude any engagement with missions. What it does is takes a portion, and it is only a part of what creating a foundation would do. Many Rotary clubs, not all 100, 200 member clubs, do have foundations. It is a way to give funds to our club for other people on our fundraisers, etc., to have the option of a tax write-off if they want it. So I want to clear up some conceptions. I worked at the York County Community Foundation. The mission of that organization is to support nonprofits in the community. We would always get recognition. If we had a fund at the York County, whatever we decide, whether we decide yay or nay, our fund would have our name associated with it. As long as we exist as a club, we can direct where those funds go to a nonprofit organization in the community of our choosing. They have an incredible history of growing the investments, and it's trackable. It's trackable through them, through their annual reports. It's guided. Anytime we invest money anywhere, there is an expense to it, no matter who oversees it. I'd love to think that our club members would volunteer to manage our investments, but that hasn't proven to be true. But I will just say that they have a great history of it. They have a great history of good in the community. and we would not lose our identity. In fact, that was one of the reasons, and any of the committee members can correct me if I'm wrong, was to ensure that our club would have a presence and recognition in the community, even if we cease to exist. So I just want to say that I don't think that any of this, again, the intent was not to preclude any involvement in Rotary International or in any projects. So
No, I didn't say that it was. I said there are options. They're requesting 25,000, that takes all the funds. And that 15,000 that you want to give does maybe help the community, but what if we do a grant in the community using that 15,000 and tripling it and doing something nice for a nonprofit or for people in need in this community? We actually have the ability to make a bigger project than our money can do with them, and we can control it and be involved. Handing over the money does not get enthusiasm to our members. And if people give that money, they can still give it. You know, we could still ask people to donate towards that so that we can, and raise money from other people to come up with that 25,000 from people who believe that that's the best way to go. Okay, but I'm saying that it's not the best financially. It's not the best for our community ID, okay? And it's not the best for inspiring us to actually get out there and work. Being
Wait,
part of
Connie,
it.
if you'll excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't like to
Okay, go ahead.
interrupt you, but we are at
Mhm.
8:30. Do we have any other comments? If you're all in agreement, we'll take time for one or two more, and then we'll
Yes.
have to go. Chris?
Yes, if I may. Thank you, Connie.
Certainly.
Thank you, Connie, for your presentation this morning. You brought us some interesting facts. The one thing that this keeps coming out as you were speaking is it actually sounds like both can coexist together based on what this club can do, where we have come over the years with the foundation. It gives us really another tool to have an impact locally and international. And I don't think we'll be taking money away from the Rotary Foundation by any stretch, because we as Rotarians are committed to that. So I don't see that changing in the future. So I think this is just another way for us to serve our community. And, you know, we don't do it for the recognition, but yes, when we can get it, that's great. So I think your presentation and the presentation that the committee has done really shown that we can actually coexist together, in my opinion. So.
Any other comments? Bill?
Yes, I'm with Chris. I think we are actually closer to having consensus than we think. I actually am with Connie on the point of the York County Community Foundation. I've thought about this before contacting the Harrisburg Rotary Club, but Harrisburg has run this parallel system, Rotary Club and a Rotary Foundation within the organization. I've spoken to the executive director up there. She tells me that she believes it has been very helpful in bringing support to projects, to be able to tell somebody we are a 501c3. Becky has had experience with this. And so without going into the details, I think that alone would be a big help. And I think Harrisburg's experience has shown that. I don't see why we have to commit to the endowment at this point. I understand the perpetuity issue, but I don't feel like that's so immediate. If our membership was down to 10 or 15 and we were all 80 years and older, I would say, yeah, this is a good time to set up with whatever money we have, whatever we will donate, an endowment, and then we'll have something going on in perpetuity. One of the things that I've learned from being on the committee is that the Community Foundation stresses hard a specific purpose for the fund that's endowed. And I think the reason is because they have to be concerned about eventually running that and needing by law to carry on the purpose that the endowment was originally established for. If you, and we'd have to figure that out, and we probably all have different ideas of what that should be, but if you simply, for the time being, run our charitable work through our York East Foundation, you can basically parrot the language of the federal law, the 501c3 law, which says our purpose is to support all charitable and educational purposes as defined in section 501c3. So you can't get any more general than that when it comes to, I don't know, we're gonna support the soup kitchen and some educational programs in the city or whatever district you want to go to. And so I think we're, and honestly, for the time being, the community foundation issue raises some concerns that we don't have to even worry about at the time being. Finally, other clubs that have established endowments generally are done by individual members of the club who have a certain cause that they want to donate money to and create a specific endowment for. So, you know, in fact, if you read the paper, the York Club has programs where they specifically support charities, funds for a nursing student, somebody going on to nursing school, so forth and so on. Anyway, that's my position.
Thank you,
President
Bill.
Graham, this is Charles. I just wholeheartedly want to agree with my colleague across the aisle on all of those points as a fellow committee member.
All right, very good. Jim, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, I need to unmute there for
Roger.
a minute, but I just wanted to give my experience. What a fantastic position for the club to be in. And I love that we have a lively conversation with lots of options and great ways to move forward. Our family does have a smaller Dollars for Scholars scholarship through York County Community Foundation. It is a fantastic organization and does some wide sweeping good projects throughout the community. But we're under, we committed like $30,000. And because of those yearly fees, we are now less than that with the principal amount, although it does generate enough to give a healthy scholarship, which varies from year to year, depending on the interest rates that's generated there. So I think if we came in with $100,000, that could generate, then you can pick up some steam at the Community Foundation and really make that worthwhile. But maybe it's great to have all these options out there. I think we need to consider this and have more conversation about it. I do like the idea of us having control, and certainly if we have enough money down the line that we can set up a perpetuity foundation, that would be fantastic as well.
All right, one more, Roger.
Yeah, I agree with what Bill was saying. I mean, when I gave and give money to our Rotary Club, I expect it to be used. I don't really want to give money that's going to be tucked away and living off the interest. When we did these recent mission trips, several of our club members had to pony up money to help fund that mission trip because the club didn't really come up with the money that they had committed to. And, you know, that disappoints me, especially when I find out that we're sitting on $28,000 that could be used for good. And particularly in these difficult pandemic times. And I just want to see us do good now. If I want a legacy, I'll let my kids and my grandkids be my legacy. I think it's, you know, we have a solution looking for a problem is the way I view using the York Foundation. I personally looked at them for my family to put money in. And I rejected the idea because I would rather have control myself. I can make more money myself. I don't charge administrative fees. And if my cause that I'm giving money to goes off the rails, like some of these causes tend to do, I can shift that money to somewhere else. So I really think it's important that we retain control and not worry about that at this point in time. So that's my 2 cents
Thank you,
worth.
Roger.
As a 30-year Rotarian.
Thank you.
That's what I think. Thank you.
Good 2 cents. Anybody else have a comment?
May I just say one thing finally? I never agreed with Bill before, but I have to disagree with what he said about me. I don't even live on the same planet as Connie. So Connie is unique in every respect, and I'm somewhere down there with the foot folk, and I'm happy to support her with everything I can, but I'm not on the same plane. So please
Yes,
treat
you are.
me in a different way than me. Sorry.
Well, I think
All
that,
right.
this discussion has not come to an end. There is still a lot of work for all of us to do. I think there's been a tremendous amount of information that has been exposed today through Connie's presentation and through the presentation of Elizabeth in the past with her committee. I won't tell you what my are just now, but I think that in the future, we need to probably address at least one entire meeting to discussion for this. I mean, this is an important thing. We've got $28,000, which has been sitting in a sunshine fund accumulating amounts over the years from various places. It will continue to do that. And as Roger says, we should put it to good use. And the question is, how do we do that? And how do we do that to make the most impact? That, I think, is the crux of the question. So I propose that this not be the end of this, but that we set a meeting perhaps sometime late in August, after all of us have had a chance to sort of ruminate on this. I suggest that everybody take a look at the new Rotarian magazine, in which the funding processes are explained in a pretty understandable way. I must say that over the years, I have been one of the members who have sat out there, and when somebody started talking about the foundation, I kind of turned my ears off because it was kind of boring, and I wasn't particularly interested. Now I've changed my attitude, and I think that especially in this situation that we're in now, we need to think about this very carefully.
All right. Again, in the interest of time, we're way past our time, Bob. I believe your recommendations are well-founded. We do have more discussion on this topic to be had, but I personally